صل على محمد.
There's a request for the recitation of Surah Al-Tabarak al-Fatiha from Marhooma, Saina, Jabeen, Husain, daughter of the lover of Hussein. Surah Fatiha.
नहीं भैया ये तो प्रॉब्लम कर रहा तो मैं रिकॉर्ड कर रहा सिर्फ हाँ विदिन एन आवर रखना
Surah Al-Tabarak al-Fatiha.
सल्ले
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والسلام على سيدنا وحبيبنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبا القاسم محمد.
صلى.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم القرآن المجيد كتاب الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Dearest respected elders, respected brothers, respected sisters, Assalamu alaikum Jabeen wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When you look at your purpose in life, Islam says that the purpose as to why you exist is to seek the closest possible proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the whole reason as to why you exist is to get as close to Allah as possible as you can. And the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that possible is by giving us the system of the religion of Islam. If someone were to ever ask you, what is the point of Islam? The answer is that Islam's whole goal is to allow you and I to reach perfection. In one sentence, the goal of Islam is to allow you to become perfect. Now what that means, whether it's infallibility, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about perfection within your own level. But Islam says, no matter what you do, you can always do better. You notice that, right? So Islam says, for example, you have to pray 5 times a day. Okay, no problem. So I'm praying 5 times a day. Is that good? Yes, that's good. Is Islam satisfied? Islam says no. You have what are known as recommended prayers. Okay. I now do my recommended prayers. I'm good, right? Namaz, I'm done. Now we have what's known as Salat al-Layl. Okay, I add now Salat al-Layl. Am I good? No, how about maybe Salat Jafar Tayyar, for example? Okay, I offer Salat Jafar Tayyar. The point is what? Islam says based on your level, you can keep getting better and better and better. Even our Maraja, even the Grand Ayatollahs, for example, they still seek knowledge, even after reaching that point. Because the narrations mention what? That you seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. The point is what? That Islam's whole goal is to make you perfect in everything that you do. There's wisdom behind the entire system of Islam when it comes to fiqh, jurisprudence, spirituality, du'as. Everything has a wisdom behind it. Everything has a science. All of these sciences make up Islam. But there's one science in particular that Islam holds to be the highest and the most important study and the most important aspect of who you are as an individual, and that is what? The study and science of akhlaq. Akhlaq. In fact, the science of akhlaq is the most sacred and sanctified science that you can study. You say, how? I have to learn aqaid, furu'uddin, fiqh, science of the Quran, science of hadith, for example, tariq. But if it's not for akhlaq, none of these other knowledges, the knowledge you have matters. How?
I don't know.
Because the science of akhlaq teaches you what to do with that knowledge. You see, if I don't understand what akhlaq is, I can gain as much knowledge as I want. But if I don't understand the science of morality, I can use that knowledge to benefit myself and abuse the knowledge. Quran, Hadith. But if I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with it and have a pure soul, then what's the point of all of that knowledge? How much knowledge does Shaitan have? Was Iblis an ignorant individual? No. Iblis was extremely knowledgeable. Umar Asad, Al-Ain. Umar Asad never offered Salat al-Layl? No, he did. They never read Quran? No, they did. But akhlaq is what teaches you how to purify your soul. You see, akhlaq is a subsection of the study of irfan. Irfan is that study of a spiritual traveling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The moral aspect, subdivision is akhlaq. Okay. They say, akhlaq is so simple. Akhlaq is something you teach little kids, be good, be nice, forgive, patience. But Islam holds akhlaq at such a high level. Let me explain how. Number one, narration attributed to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إنما بعثت لأتمم مقام الأخلاق. The only innama you hear a lot. It's very special. Only. It's exclusive. The only reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent me is to perfect the morals of mankind. Perfect the morals of mankind. Quran, Surah Hujurat, dedicated to akhlaq. Surah Al Imran, verse 159, for example, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that because of the mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the Holy Prophet with, and the fact that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family was not someone who was hard-hearted. But then if he was, it would have turned people away. Islam consistently emphasizes akhlaq. Akhlaq gives value to everything that we do. That is why, inshallah, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'd like to look at the following 3 points. Firstly, what is akhlaq, truly? Because it's often misunderstood. It's often oversimplified. Number 1, what is akhlaq? Number 2, what is the relationship between akhlaq and death? We'll explain. Number 3, what are some practical examples of the companions of Ahlul Bayt and the Ahlul Bayt themselves regarding akhlaq? And number 4, what are some of the things that we can do in this world to help our loved ones who have passed away? What are some acts that we can offer them to help them, the Marhoomeen and Marhoomat? And inshallah, we will understand and look at akhlaq through the blessing of your recitation of Surah of Salawat upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. First question, what is akhlaq? You ask someone, you say, this person has good akhlaq. Okay, why? For example, he smiles, he's a nice person. So yes. So when I say what is akhlaq, is it to have good manners? Absolutely, it's a part of it. Let me ask you a question. There's somebody who comes and they need money. So I give them money. Because I gave them money, does this mean that I'm a generous person? No, not necessarily, right? So what do you mean? The act is beautiful. You gave. Is that a recommended act? Absolutely. Does it mean that the akhlaq that I have is that I'm generous? Not necessarily. Why? Akhlaq comes from the Arabic word khuluq. Khuluq means malaka, disposition. What does that mean? You see, built within you is this natural tendency to do something, to be a certain way, where you don't have to put much effort. It's just who you are. You don't even think about it. Now we have some of those attributes that are good naturally within us. Some of us have those attributes which are negative, and it's built within us. And it's so deeply rooted within us, it's a part of us that it's not easy to shake either, good or bad. So akhlaq is the study of your internal disposition, and the goal is to make all of your internal dispositions good. That's what the goal of akhlaq is. So let me explain. If a person comes and they ask you for money, let's say you don't give them money. Does it mean that you're not generous? No. Means maybe you didn't have any money to offer them, but if you had it, you would. That's akhlaq. You see the difference? So akhlaq is not about the action itself, it's about the internal disposition. Now, a person comes to me, they ask me for money. In my head, I say, well, does he really need it? I could use this money. Maybe I could buy, some some soda, something be nice, man. This dollar, $2. And I'm fighting so much over a dollar. Going through jihad al-nafs with this, all of this. He can ask somebody else, why is he bothering me? It's a good thing to do, maybe I should. Then if I give it to him, he'll leave me alone, etc., etc., etc. I end up giving him money. That's good. But does it mean that I'm generous? No. Islam comes and says, you don't even think about it. It's just a natural part of who you are. Money? No question. How much? Here, bismillah. Why? For the pleasure of Allah. Forgiveness, for example. Now, these aren't simple attributes, they're not simple characteristics to have, by the way. But Islam, remember, the goal is to make you perfect and to build it. Now, let's say, for example, you're someone who's not a generous person. Let's say. I say this to myself first, inshallah, as a reminder. Does it mean that you can make your internal disposition generous? Absolutely. But it's going to require hard work. You have to keep practicing and practicing and practicing. That's why they say, actually, Islamically, you'll see, for example, someone who he has an anger problem. Let's say, honestly, he just cannot control his anger. A part of that is genetics. They say, for example, if let's say the parent is someone who had an anger problem, you'll see that oftentimes, that it can influence, and science has proven that as well. But the biggest thing that you can do to develop it is you can practice. And the more that you practice, just like anything else in life, the easier it becomes. So sometimes somebody will tell you, look, I have an anger problem, I can't control it. No, Baba, you can. You can control it. It may not be easy, but you can, but you have to keep practicing. So the point is what? That internal disposition can be developed within you. That the more you practice, you'll see it's a natural part. And that's why when you see certain individuals in your life, they just exemplify good akhlaq. They're always smiling. They're smiling, why? Because internally they feel that they want to make other people happy. You'll see, for example, people who are always serving others, and it's just a part of who they are. They don't even give it a second thought. What hurts them is if they see other people upset. What hurts them if they see someone else in need and they're not helping them. You'll notice that there's that it's like a radiant light in the community or in your family, for example, someone who has good akhlaq. And they say how contagious it is. You ever notice that? You'll be in the worst mood, you'll come to that person, and just by them being themselves, it just cheers you up. You can't replace it. The goal is that each and every one of us who love and follow Ahlul Bayt Islam should be those same individuals. Because what happens, unfortunately, when you think of a Muslim, the first thing you think of is not somebody who has good akhlaq, unfortunately. It's somebody who prays, maybe someone who wears hijab, someone who has a long beard. That's the first definition of a Muslim. No. No. Because I tell you again, Umar Assad did those things. Muawiyah, they did those things. Your akhlaq is what represents Islam. That's what represents Islam. That's why, another example, I'll say, okay, what is taqwa? Well, let's say taqwa is when I don't sin. No. No. Taqwa is when I fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so the result is that I don't sin. You see the difference? For example, forgiveness is that I have that internal disposition where I forgive for the pleasure of generosity, a person who has forgiveness, a person who has patience, a person who always sees the positive in everything, a person who always wants to give the benefit of the doubt, a person who's happy, who's smiling, who's generous, who's willing to help. This entire code is called akhlaq. This whole code. This is what makes akhlaq. And it's something that we have to consistently work towards. That's why when you look at Laylatul Qadr, for example, there's many actions that are recommended on the greatest night of the entire year, Laylatul Qadr. One of the recommended acts is what? To read Dua Maqaram al-Akhlaq. Why? To remind ourselves, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your infinite mercy, I want to become that beloved servant that you know I can become. You know it exists within me. This is what you're looking for. Now, it's interesting. Someone says, akhlaq, there's maqaram, mahasin, different types. What does this mean? Beautiful. Islam is incredible. Akhlaq we talked about. It's that moral code, and it's developing that internal disposition, but there are different types. In Arabic, there's what's known as mahasin al-akhlaq. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, maqaram. Imam Sajjad al-Islam has dua, maqaram. Okay, what's mahasin al-akhlaq? If you do something good for me, I will do something good for you. Tit for tat. Mahasin. So I'm nice to you because you were nice to me. Okay, no problem. Is that good? Absolutely. If someone does a favor for you, you should return the favor. Absolutely. Allahu Akbar. You know, your entire life you could spend in sajda thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He put you on the school of Ahl Bayt. Let me explain why. Islam is satisfied with mahasin al-akhlaq? Absolutely not. Maqaram al-akhlaq is what? I spit on your face and you come and you give me a hug. It's not easy. It's a dramatic example, but there's a reason why we use that example. Because one of the biggest forms of disrespect is what? Is to spit on the face, of course. If you don't believe me, just look at Khandaq. If you don't believe me, just look at Khandaq. The point is what? You're disrespectful to me, and I treat you with love. Maqaram al-akhlaq, the highest exemplar of morality. You want to bring people towards Islam? You don't have to say a single word. Honestly. You don't have to utter anything. Just exemplify the principles of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, people will come running towards this religion. Allahumma salli. You know, they ask somebody who is no longer religious, or just not religious at all. Maybe they were a Christian, even Muslim, of course, even Shia, they're Muslim, they're now saying, I'm not religious. You ask them, said, what happened? Said, I knew someone who says that he was very religious. Could be a scholar, could be just somebody who attends the mosque. But when I got to know them, they said, they fear Allah, they do this, they do that. But I got to know them and I found them very rude towards me, for example. They were doing ghibat against me, for example. They treated me this way, they treated me that way. And as a result, we ended up pushing them away from the religion. Now, ultimately, it's on that person, right? Of course. But we have a responsibility as ambassadors of the followers of Ahlul Bayt that you magnetize people. Now, maqaram al-akhlaq is interesting because what happens is, look, when things are going well for you, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may things always go well for all of us, inshallah. But when things are going well, it's easy to be in a good mood. When you have a lot of money, it's easy to be generous. When someone slightly agitated you, it's easy to forgive. No. Islam says, I'm going to take this potential within you and I'm going to make you the greatest possible human being, but it's not going to be easy. Because we have to get rid of some things within you first. Ego. Ego is the biggest one, quite honestly. Arrogance, for example. That's why when you have little, because again, it's not about the amount, it's about that disposition for the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All I have is a penny, but this penny is yours. That's the beauty. That's the goal. So the question then, what is the relationship between akhlaq and death? What do the two have to do with each other? There are two very important principles or areas that akhlaq affects us after we die. The first, I'll narrate through the following story that's attributed to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Narrations mention that one of the greatest companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a companion by the name of Sa'd bin Mu'adh. You may have heard of him. One of the top companions. Salat top, fasting top, even fought alongside Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Narrations mention that when Sa'd bin Mu'adh passed away, they were doing the janazah, that the Holy Prophet, under the instruction of Hazrat Ibrahim, was wearing the qaba, right? He takes off his qaba and takes off his sandals. So it's in Arabian culture at that time, if you did that, it was the ultimate sign of respect that the Holy Prophet walked barefoot and participated in the janazah of Sa'd bin Mu'adh. So much so that imagine the Holy Prophet takes off his sandals for your janazah, for my janazah, takes off his qaba, for example, even participated in the actual burying of Sa'd. What status Sa'd bin Mu'adh has. Imagine. This is not something small. We're talking about one of the dearest, top, closest companions. After Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had participated and shown this level of respect, the comment was made that, I'm paraphrasing, but almost, he's guaranteed Jannah. Just imagine Sa'd. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family says, do not impose that on Allah which you do not know. So what do you mean? Right now, at this very moment, Sa'd is undergoing the intense squeezing of the grave. Ya Rasulullah, why? I mean, we're talking top at every level. Salat top, Quran, knowledge, everything. Companion of the Holy Prophet. It's not something small. So why? Because at home, with his family, with his spouse, Sa'd had a negative attitude. Akhlaq was poor at home. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the most important things is our akhlaq with everyone, but especially with our family. You'll see, and I pray inshallah, as a reminder to myself first, that none of us are like this, but you'll see people come to the masjid, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, we're not judging, but there are situations they'll come to the masjid at the top, most respectful, most polite, most kind. Allahu Akbar. When they go home, it's like a different person got replaced there. Rude, impatient with the wife, for example, or vice versa, arrogant, disrespectful, bad attitude. What's happening here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala views good akhlaq, especially with your family, to such a level that one of the greatest punishments is to be squeezed in the grave. And that good akhlaq protects you from that. Now, someone will say, well, Sa'd was such a top companion. Why did he act like that? Some people, maybe just they don't think it's a big deal. Quite honestly. They don't think there's anything really wrong with it. That's why, again, when you talk about the definition of a Muslim, the first thing that doesn't come to mind is somebody who's patient and generous and smiling and kind, because it's not been emphasized like it should be. That Islam expects people to be of the highest level of character and morality. And especially at home, with your children, your spouse, your parents, especially. With everyone, but especially at home. That love that you maybe show your co-workers or your friends, they'll come and they'll go. But what about your wife? Who, for example, maybe spent the whole day cooking for you, and maybe inshallah vice versa. We hope the husbands cook for the wives too, right? Inshallah. Every once in a while, right? But they should be. The point is, the women, some sisters work as well. So maybe the same that we expect, we should treat our wives the same way. And appreciate them. You know, they'll say, why don't you ever tell your spouse, for example, you love them? Or even thank you. God forbid, man. So why? Yeah, she knows. She knows. 30 years we've been married, I've never said I love you. She knows. Why do I need to tell her? How about Baba flowers? No, come on, what is this? It's the Western, right? appreciate them. Appreciate them. As we all know, with everything going on in the world, how short is life? Appreciate them. Tell them how much you care about them. This is what Islam expects. You ever notice one of the biggest problems in marriages is what? Lack of communication, lack of harmony, right? Not listening properly, fighting. Because oftentimes what happens is in the outside world, there's so much going on that's hard. Life is hard right now. You have to be honest. So what happens? You bring that negativity to the house. And your poor wife or husband or children or parents, you take it out on them. Because I can't take it out on my boss. I'll get fired, right? I can't take it out on my teacher. So I go home and I take it out on my family. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you don't seek forgiveness and you die, this is going to be the consequence. The same fate that Sawab bin Mu'adh faced. That punishment, and honestly, they say that squeezing of the grave is something, my teacher said he does not even want to explain the detail of it. The point is what? To protect ourselves from that, exemplify morality and ethics at a high level of akhlaq. That's number one. So when it comes to death, akhlaq protects, good akhlaq, especially with the house, protects you from the squeezing of the grave. Second, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Second has to do with Yawm al-Qiyamah and al-Mizan, the scale. Of all of the actions and all of the deeds and everything that you do in this world, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our hajat. There's two actions in particular that weigh the heaviest. They weigh the heaviest. And I tell you, every pound, if you will, if we're saying figuratively, that I can get, every ounce I can get, I'll take it. The first deed to be counted on Yawm al-Qiyamah in Mizan according to narrations is your akhlaq. Your akhlaq. The heaviest, they say, the heaviest, imagine, deed on the day of judgment is how you were with people. Were you patient? Were you kind? Were you smiling? Were you forgiving? Were you generous? Internal disposition for the pleasure of Allah. The heaviest is your good akhlaq. So if I come and I don't have akhlaq, it's like I put it on the scale, I'm depending on it. It just goes like beep. I need it like a boulder, right? I just got like a little crumb. We're going to need it. That's number one. So akhlaq is weighed the heaviest on the day of judgment, number one. Number two, narrations say the heaviest or along the heaviest is what? The salawat that you recite on Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Said, how? You know what's beautiful about this salawat? You know what's beautiful about it? Your entire faith, your entire belief system is encapsulated within this one sentence. I asked you, I said, what's usul? Tawheed, Adalat, Nabuwat, Imamat, Qiyamat. Right? Okay. The entire belief system is summarized in this one sentence of salawat. How? Let us break it down, inshallah. Because they say that along with akhlaq, that the heaviest deed is your salawat. So okay, how does it summarize the entire faith? What do you mean? Let's break it down. Allahumma. Allahumma, right? Oh Allah. And Allahumma is not just oh Allah, it's oh my beloved Lord, oh my beloved Allah. So I'm speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does that mean? That means that I acknowledge that God exists. Tawheed. With me, right? Tawheed. And not just the acknowledgement of a creator, but look at the relationship of how I speak, how you speak to Allah with the utmost respect. Allahumma. Not Ya Rab, for example, right? So it's very special. So that's Tawheed. Okay. Allahumma. Salli ala Muhammad. Okay. In this sentence, Salli ala Muhammad means what? Oh Allah, oh my Lord, bestow your blessings on Muhammad. What's number two? Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. What's number two? Adalat. Okay. How is you and I asking Allah to bestow His blessings on the Holy Prophet? Adalat. The greatest creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Holy Prophet. Holy Prophet narrates that no prophet has suffered or been through what I've been through. Everything we have from the mercy of Allah has come from the sacrifices of the Holy Prophet. But how did the Holy Prophet live? How short his life was? Oh Allah, your justice dictates out of your mercy. Your justice is such that you will reward the Holy Prophet because he's done nothing but good and served you. And because you are Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim and Adil in every level, your justice will show that you will shower your blessings on Muhammad. So that's number two, Adalat. Number three, obviously, Rasulullah, Nabuwat. I acknowledge that there's a prophet, that's Nabuwat. Okay. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. That's three of them. So we got two left. Wa ale Muhammad. Okay. And the family of the Holy Prophet. Imama, easy. Because you're asking for the progeny of the Holy Prophet Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So that's Imama, that's four. But what does this have to do with Qiyamah? What does it have to do with Ma'ad? This one's hard, by the way. You can derive this. It's similar to Adalat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showered us with the blessings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and they sacrificed, and they went through everything. They were sent as guidance. But do you think that this temporary world, how much torture and how much difficulty they went through, you think this transient temporary world is enough for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly to recompense them? You have Imam Jawad alayhi salam, 25 years old, he was killed. Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, 28 years old, he was killed. I won't even mention Karbala, for example. Imam Ali alayhi salam's life, all the Ahlul Bayt, Imam al-Qadim alayhi salam, everything they went through. Blessings and reward has to happen from where? There has to be another day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will truly be able to fully recompense and shower and honor the blessings on both Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And so that is where your belief in Ma'ad and Yawm al-Qiyamah comes in. Because when you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower His blessings on the Holy Prophet, when will that truly happen? Oh Allah, I know that this world is transient. This cannot be the end. Because somebody who was evil, and then you look at Ahlul Bayt and they both pass away. So then they're considered equal if there's no qiyamah, right? What's the point? There's nothing after this. We died. Then where's the justice? Where's the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because now there's nothing. I know that there's a day that they will be recompensed. And that is on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So the second, or if not the first, heaviest is the salawat. Recite it constantly, my dear brothers and sisters. Recite it. Always, never overlook it. Especially on Thursday nights. There are narrations that mention that angels come down symbolically in the Arabic language where they write in gold, where the job of the angel is only to record the rewards of reciting a salawat on a Thursday night. Look at the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All Allah wants to do is to shower His blessings on you. Always remember that. But there's a catch. It's not enough to simply just utter it. No. You see, the salawat is something that has to be embodied. What do we mean? That when I'm asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower His blessings on the Holy Prophet Ahlul Bayt that I am somebody who follows the Ahlul Bayt. That's the truest definition of salawat, the absolute truest definition. You'll see people, and again, we're not judging, we're trying to get better, right? Who recite the salawat and the next sentence they're doing ghibat. Baba, you're asking Allah to bless them. We have to walk in their footsteps. You have to walk in their footsteps. So, how do we do that? Let's look at the akhlaq of Ahlul Bayt. Let's start with the companions. I want to show you what it means to be a true follower of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen al-Islam, what it really means. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Narrations mention one day that Hazrat Malik Ashtar was walking in the market. Malik Ashtar was the governor of Egypt. Narrations mention number 2 in the army of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Imagine the bravery and status and stature of Hazrat Malik Ashtar. Now, 1400 years ago, there wasn't Twitter and Insta and Facebook and CNN and everything, where everyone knew what the governor of Egypt looked like. So Hazrat Malik Ashtar doesn't walk around. Remember, he's the governor and the companion of Imam alayhi salam, which is the greatest honor. He's not walking with an entourage of people, security, right? People clearing the perimeter. Humble, simple, which is what it means to be a servant of Imam Ali alayhi salam for the pleasure of Allah. Humble, walking in the streets. One version I've heard is that there was a man, he doesn't know who he is. Starts making fun of him, abusing him, teasing. That's one. Another narration I heard is that there were some young kids, maybe teens you could say. One teen had like a stone, a rock. He makes fun of him, says, Malik's this old man. Doesn't know him, right? He's just this old man walking in the street, takes a stone and throws it and hits Malik now. Remember, number 2 in the army of the generals of Imam Ali alayhi salam. The kid's laughing, he looks at his friend. His friend's face is like pale white, scared. What? Do you know who you just hit? So what? Who? That's Malik Ashtar, number 2 in the army of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Oh my God, he's like, thinks he's done. I mean, if you do that, imagine to the governor, that's it, you're done, finished. So one narration says that it was a man, maybe a man had done this very similar thing. In both stories, they run to Malik. So where is he? Look at what it means to love Ali ibn Abi Talib. Where do you find him? You find him in the mosque, praying. Okay. He says, I didn't know it was you. Number one, that shouldn't matter. He says, I didn't know it was you. Please forgive me. Malik says, by Allah, I swear by Allah, the only reason that I came here was to offer forgiveness on your behalf. Just put yourself in those shoes. Not harming anyone, not hurting anybody. You're walking in the market. Some kids come with a stone and they hit you. You're going to give them a tupper, right? So you're bothered with them, right? That's what we're going to do. But what does it mean to embody the salawat? What does it mean to embody maqaram al-akhlaq? They didn't even ask for forgiveness. I already was going and forgiving them. Now that's just the companions. Allah. That's just the companions. Haven't even come to Ahl Bayt. That level, when we were little, one of the most famous stories that were always told as a kid that I never appreciated. When you look at, and you all know it, it's a very famous story, we'll explain it. The point is what? When you really look at this story, Allahu Akbar, everything you need to know about Islam is in this story. I really want you to think about this. You have this lady who hates you so much. She just hates you. She's never talked to you. She's never met you, but she hates you. I don't know if you've ever seen people like that. So why does this guy have something against me? It's okay, man. I'm not upset. Anyway, the Holy Prophet, you all know this, would walk in the market. Every day, this lady would come and throw trash. You come, you take a bath, you're clean. Just imagine take a long time, put on nice clothes, put on itar, inshallah, cologne, smell good. And you get a little stain or something. Oh, I got mud on my thing, I spilled chai, now I have to change everything, right? Now imagine trash. And this is the greatest of creation. This is the embodiment of light. This is the embodiment of taharat, of purity, of everything. This lady's throwing trash onto him. One day, let me ask you, Allah, would you honestly ask? I say this only to myself. I walk one day and no trash is thrown on me. How many of us would say, what happened? So, Alhamdulillah, thank you, Allah. I hope I never see that lady again. What does Rasulullah do? He says, I have not seen her. Is everything okay? He goes and asks. Number one, he asks about her. Why? Because he cares about her. Why? Because she's still a human being, number one. Number two, ultimately, my life is for the pleasure of Allah. He goes, and she's sick. You all know. She now thinks what? It's revenge time, right? Time for revenge. I've been so rude to you, throwing trash at you, doing this. Says, no, I was worried about you. Worried about you. Why? See what Islam creates? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows where to put his role models. Allah doesn't pick 14 random individuals. There's a reason why they are who they are. Goes to the lady, I was worried about you. I found out you were sick and I'm here to check up on you. What happens? She becomes a Muslim. She becomes a Muslim. Didn't Rasulullah explain anything about Quran, Tawheed, about nothing. He is the Quran embodied. Embodies the understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the taqwa of Allah. She becomes a Muslim. That's one example. There's a million examples. Because what does the Holy Prophet say? The only reason I came perfect morals of mankind. So the Prophet is going to exemplify that, number one. Give you another example for the sake of time, inshallah. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You know why these stories are amazing before I get to the main one? Because again, it's easy to practice akhlaq when everything's going well. So I see someone in the masjid. I said, I'm not talking to that person ever again. I said, Baba, what happened? What did he do? He had a shadi. He didn't invite me. What do you mean? Baba, is your Shia brother? No, no, dead to me. Never want to see him again. What's wrong? No, no benefit of the doubt. No, maybe it was some situation. I'm not. No. All I know is there was a shadi. He didn't invite me. I I say this. I honestly say this to myself because again, the ego. It happens. Shaitan doesn't. Shaitan's not chilling, by the way. Shaitan, especially now that you want to. Now that we want to work on our akhlaq, Shaitan's up. He's like, no, no, no. You should hate that guy. He didn't invite you to a shadi. Anyway, why do I mention this? Narrations mention that a man came to our fifth holy Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam, Now the name is Baqir. Baqir, the one who dissects and examines science, for example, knowledge, everything, dissects it. The man comes to him and says, hey Baqir. Baqir is what? Cow. Makes fun of the whole the Imam's name. Baqir alayhi salam says Baqir. Hey cow. Just put yourself in the situation. I'm saying to myself, someone comes to me and say, hey, you cow. So, oh, really? Anyway, look at the akhlaq of Imam al-Baqir al-Islam. He says, first. No, because then the man starts insulting him and says, I heard that your mother was a slave, a woman, and all this, and starts insulting him. The Imam's not doing anything. The Imam is sitting there. Minding his own business, of course, as always, right? Says, firstly, my name is Baqir, not Baqir. Calm, respectful. Okay. And he gives examples of situations where the mothers of prophets were slaves. He says, if what you're saying is true, may Allah forgive if there's something. But if what you're saying is not true, I pray to Allah to forgive you. Two more and we'll wrap up very quickly. Number one, Imam al-Husain is a situation in which a man comes and just starts abusing Imam al-Husain verbally, abusing. And one of the reasons is because of the hatred that they had for Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Curse on you, this and that, astaghfirullah rabbi, and your father, this. Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam goes to the man and says, you see, maybe that you are a traveler, a stranger in this land. Maybe you had a fight with your wife, a quarrel. Come stay with me. If you're hungry, I'll feed you. If you're thirsty, I'll give you water. You come stay at my house. Just imagine. It's one thing to be insulted, but to insult my father? And I don't even know you. The man says, I don't understand. I came, I insulted you, I insulted your father, I did this, I did that. but we are Ahlul Bayt. We are Ahlul Bayt. How do you think the Imams attracted people to Islam? Akhlaq. I'll end with this one. Because one thing that's very important that we often forget, people say, okay, our Shia brothers, I'll be super nice to them. If you're not Shia, nope, it doesn't work that way. Akhlaq is not a pick and choose. Now, someone will say, okay, because I'm being nice and respectful to you, that means I condone your actions. No, no, that's different. If somebody is doing something that's wrong, there's a respectful, akhlaqi way to speak out. But Islam does not, under any, and I'll repeat it, under any circumstances, allow disrespect. Under any circumstances. You want to say why? I'll show you. A man comes. Because this is why it's important to respect every creation. This is not me saying it. A man comes to our fourth holy Imam. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When you hear this story, you just, Allahu Akbar. Ya Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. They say, a man comes and he's in such a, you all know this, disheveled situation. Thirsty. Comes to the Imam and asks the Imam if he has any water to give him. Allahu Akbar. Now, what did we say akhlaq is? Internal disposition. There's no jihad and nafs going on with the Imam. Internal discussion, should I not? Akhlaq, learn akhlaq from the Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt. Patience, learn patience from Imam al-Mu'mineen. All of these attributes, let me show you how. He asks the Imam for water, the Imam gives him water. The man says, if you knew who I was, you would not have given me any water. Imam Sajjad says, I knew exactly who. Now let me ask you a question. That individual is number one, someone who fought against the Imam of his time. Because you all know, number one, fought against the Imam of his time. So he's an enemy of Islam. Number two, killed his brother. This is the individual who put the spear in the heart of Hazrat Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam, according to some narrations. The point is what? Is Imam Sajjad al-Islam disrespectful? Does Imam Sajjad al-Islam abuse him? The Imam could have said, look, I'm not going to give you any water. You killed my brother. You fought against my father. This is Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. You're thirsty here. Because every single creation deserves respect and love. That's what it means to follow Ahlul Bayt. That's what it means to be a lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a follower of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you have someone in your life who's disrespectful to you, this is the time that you remember Karbala. Not when everything's going well. You remember Imam al-Husain when you see your egos acting up. If you see the stubbornness within you to be disrespectful or to be impatient, you remember Imam al-Husain you remember Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen This is the time that you exemplify the akhlaq. Because I'll tell you, and I'll say this forever, that no one, no group of individuals ever suffered or ever had their akhlaq tested like Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, ever. Let me explain. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness to narrate these. One thing on this earth that we will never, ever, ever be able to understand is how much love Imam Ali had for Sayyida Fatima. No matter what you do in this world, no matter what you learn, no matter what you think about, the love of Bibi Fatima for Mawla Ali and the love for Mawla Ali to Bibi Fatima is something that cannot be understood. That love was so great. You want to see true, pure love for one another. You look at the marriage of Ali and Fatima. Can you imagine the sabr of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam? The love that he has for Sayyida Fatima. Just imagine, narrations mention one day that Imam Ali alayhi salam comes home. He sees Sayyida Fatima salamu alayha. She's in a state where she's so hungry she can barely stand up. And her face has become pale. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen asks, oh, my beloved wife Fatima, is everything okay? She says, oh, honey, I don't want to inconvenience you because the Holy Prophet says, don't ever trouble Ali. Don't ever bother. Says what? Says we don't have any food in the house. We don't have any food. Says, Fatima, it's not a trouble. It's not a trouble. The narrations say that they were so hungry. What happens? Then Mawla Ali goes and he's able to get a pomegranate. One pomegranate. goes, but he had only a dinar, he gives all the money. What happens is he goes, he sees, for example, Migdad is on the street, and Migdad is usually, says salam alaikum, he says wa alaikum salam, and goes. He says, that's strange. Migdad normally will greet, and he goes to Migdad and says, oh Mona, I don't want to bother you, but my children have no food, and their eyes are in the back of their heads from hunger. All Mola has is one pomegranate. His wife is at home. She's pale. She's starving. She's hungry. Mola says, no problem. He cut the pomegranate in half and goes and gives the pomegranate to Midlan, half the pomegranate. Then he comes back home and he brings half of a pomegranate to Sayyidah Fatima salam alayha. How many of us would say, all you bring us is a pomegranate? All you bring us is this? How thankful Sayyidah Fatima salam alayha was to Mawla Ali alayhi salam. How much it pained Mawla Ali to see Sayyidah Fatima in that status. Imagine the exemplary akhlaq of Sayyidah Fatima salam alayha. Now I take you, my dear brothers and sisters. May Allah grant each and every one of you sabr. Now imagine a situation when Mawla Ali alayhi salam is performing the ghusl of his wife Sayyidah Fatima. This is the individual who lifted the door of Khaybar. This is the bravest of individuals. Narrations mention that when Mawla was doing the ghusl of Sayyidah Fatima, Mawla stops. He goes into the corner of the room. Narrations say, I saw Ali cry in a way I have never seen Mawla cry before. The bravest of individuals. They say, oh Mawla, what makes you cry like this? Imam Ali says, as I was doing the ghusl of Fatima, I came across the rib of my wife, and the rib was broken, and she never told me. Narrations mention that after Mawla does the ghusl of Sayyidah Fatima salam alayha, then the janazah comes out. They say that as the body of Sayyidah Fatima comes out, Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Husain, young children, they go on to the body. Imam al-Husain goes on to the body of Sayyidah Fatima. The angels come down to Mawla Ali. They say, oh Ali, remove Husain from the body of Fatima. Why, Mawla angels? Because they cannot handle, and it breaks their heart to see a young Husain on the chest of his mother Fatima. Oh angels, I ask you, if you could not bear to see Husain on the chest of Sayyida, then how did you see Shimar sir on the chest of Husain? إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you with these tears for the love of Abi Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you for those individuals who are going through hard times, those individuals who may be suffering from issues of health or wealth or any difficulties, for the love of Abi Abdullah. Oh Allah, remove their distress and remove any difficulties they're going through. Ya Rabbil Alameen, we beg to you in the name of Imam al-Hussein to end the oppression that's going on in Palestine, Ya Rab, to grant a ceasefire, to stop the innocent killing of the Palestinian people. And above all, oh Allah, we beg you and pray to you for the hastening of the reappearance of our Imam al-Hujjah, the one who will restore peace and justice after instilling justice on the earth. We beg for the hastening of the reappearance of the Imam. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you to perform the du'as and to perform the hastening of the health for those who are sick with Amma Yujib. But before that, the recitation of Surah Mubarak al-Fatiha for all the marhumeen and marhumat, but especially and specifically for Sister Saina Jabeen Husain, daughter of Brother Dalawar Husain, and all your marhumeen and marhumat. Surah Mubarak al-Fatiha.
متوجه يا رب. السلام عليكم عبد الله، السلام عليكم يا رسول الله، السلام